All right. Okay. This is like, I don't know how many times I've done this. But got an extra battery, got my microphone set. Hopefully it's not too loud. Got a little bevy. Got my marker. Got my math hat on. Dusted off my old calculator. Did some calculations for you today. You know what? We got the market numbers for December, and I was able to look through and notice a few things that I want to share with you guys. There's a couple points that might be of interest, but what we'll do is we'll take a quick look over Cadria, which is Kamloops and District Real Estate Association, and we have Kamloops, Merritt, Barrier, Clearwater, all that fun stuff. Like everybody around us is involved in that district. So we'll look at the numbers for the district, Kamloops alone, and then there's a nearby town that I want to talk about that has some good potential and good value there. So jump into my desk here and let's go. So what we're going to do here is take a look at these figures, the listings, the units sold, and the average prices for 2019 and 2020. We're going to be doing comparisons of 2020 to 2019 and the 10-year, except for the average price. I don't have those figures readily available, so we'll make do with what we got. So the 10-year average for listings, generally in December, we'll have 1,644. In 2019, that figure was down to 1,150. No, not 55, 53. 1,153. In 2020, that went even lower to 970. So compared to the 10-year average, we are down 41%. That's not good. That's not a good number. That creates scarcity, right? And that's just over the 10-year average. But compared to last year, it's not that bad if you compare to the 10-year average. But when you think about it, we're still down 16% in terms of what's available for listing. It might not sound much after hearing 41% for the 10-year, but that's still substantial. We'll look at the units sold and you'll see why. The 10-year average is normally we'll sell 133 units. Last year, in December, we sold 155 units, but this year we sold 211. That's a big jump. So over the 10-year, that's huge. That is a 54% jump, but even year over year, that's still 36% going up, right? So you're seeing our availability going down of what's available for listings. So the houses available are decreased, but the buyers in this, the units sold have increased. So what that does is it kind of shifts the equilibrium, and the equilibrium in our case is going to be the average price. The average price is another way of saying what the market value is of the average home. In 2019 for Kamloops and the area, we were sitting at 393,000. So if you wanted to buy a house in about December of last year, of 2019, just at that 400,000 mark, that's where you were, right? We could have bought a house for 400 grand. And there was people buying houses with suites for pretty close to it, 420 maybe. But that price has gone out the window. Like if you're trying to find a house with a suite, you can find anything under 500 that's in good shape. That's an anomaly right now. Our average prices for Kamloops and area, so like the entire district right now, is 492K. So we're up 25%. That kind of gives you a general idea of what's going on, but let's do kind of a closer dig on the city of Kamloops and see what the values are like in our town just within the city. So what I want to do is do a year over year, compare 2019 to 2020, look at the units sold, look at the total units sold, look at the total dollar value of all of those units, and then break it down into average prices of a home within the city of Kamloops. So jump in with me and we'll take a look. So what we're going to do for this is we're going to do a deeper dive and compare how 2019 shapes up to 2020 and what the changes are year over year. 2019, we saw 106 units compared to 2020 where we had 163 units. Now, what kind of change is that? That's a good change. It's 53% up. We're seeing more sales. That's a good figure, but it isn't. Essentially in December, what is our slow month, we aren't seeing that it's slow at all. We're seeing action get pushed back, and that is for a few different reasons. I mean, buyers were removed from the market for a few months. COVID and all that kind of stuff happened, and people weren't able to buy during the beginning of summer, and I think that's kind of delayed a lot of purchases, and we're seeing that spill over into December and January in what are historically quiet times. But what that means is there's just a lot of buyers out there too, and it's just not slowing down for anybody or anything. The dollar value, the total dollar value went from $43.51 million to 82.5. That's a 90% increase. So what you're seeing is even though the units sold have increased, the dollar value of the total sales in 2020 is far greater than what the increase is in terms of units sold, and that's due to the average price. The average price in Kamloops this year is over 507K. That's crazy. We've broken the 500,000 for the average price, not the median price, the average price. Last year, we're at 410. That's almost $100,000 difference right there. That's bananas to think that your house went up 23.5% up in 1 year. To see that kind of growth is insane. It's unheard of. It's good if you're in the market. It's super tough if you're trying to get into the market. You're going to see, if you're a first-time home buyer, you'll see yourself priced out of a lot of options. Your only saving grace is that interest rates have gone down, but with that, a lot of other buyers are competing with you now because money is cheap, and if you can spend free money, essentially, then why not? Why not go out there and buy an investment property at this time? And what that's doing, again, is creating more buyers than there are homes available. So you're seeing a lot of these multiple offer situations and houses go far above asking price. So that's Kamloops for you. Good little tidbit there. But I want to go and kind of jump into another town close by, only 45 minutes away, Merritt, BC. Merritt's tiny. I have a soft spot for Merritt. I grew up there. I know a lot of people from there, and it's awesome. But this was kind of an anomaly to me. It kind of stood out, and I thought it was a cool figure to kind of think over and just acknowledge. So here's what I want to look at for this. We're going to look at Merritt 2019 to 2020, see the comparison, but also take a look at the units sold, total value, and average price, just like we did for Kamloops. In 2019, in the month of December, I sold 8 houses out in Merritt. Not very much. Merritt's not a very big place, so yeah, maybe that's all right. But the jump in 2020, 21 sales. That is an increase 163%. That's crazy. 163% in 1 year. What that might be due to is maybe you're getting a lot of people working from home that don't need to be in the city anymore. So you're seeing a lot of transplants from Vancouver and the area out there. The other thing is with the coronavirus and what's happened, you always heard about people leaving the city and not wanting to be there, and older people getting out of there and coming into our market. Well, technically, when they go into Merritt, they're actually entering our market too, because we're all ruled by the same governing body, which is Cadrea. So when you see a lot of these stats and statistics talking about out-of-town buyers, they might not actually be buying within Kamloops, but it's still skewing our numbers. Total value of all of these buyers, this is funny because it was only 1.99 million in 2019. This year, this number's jumped up quite a bit. 7.5 million, 277%. Huge numbers, huge differences year over year. Good place to have invested if you bought in 2019 or before. And your average price, 248, and we're looking at this year, 357,000. So that's a 43% increase. What that means is, so we'll just bring Kamloops over here really quick. Your dollar for dollar, you're making more of a return over that 2019-2020 calendar year in Merritt than you will in Kamloops. That's not what you would think of. When you think about Kamloops, it's growing. It's a city and it's expanding. We have a lot more jobs. We have a lot more sectors of employment than Merritt does. And we just generally have a lot more growth. And so this was kind of interesting for me to see. I would like to do a little bit more research into this and see what's driving these things. But if I had to assume, I'm going to say definitely you're going to get retirees and remote workers that no longer need to be in the city, that are probably moving to areas like Merritt, that's driving these prices and values up. For Kamloops, it's still a great amount of growth. Is it worth it to live in Merritt 45 minutes away? For me, no. I grew up here. I like being closer to town. It's obviously easier for my job, but for some people, possibly. If you're coming from Vancouver and you don't mind a 40-minute drive, hey, you know what? That might float your boat. you'll save quite a bit of money on the purchase there. Another thing to consider is the investment aspect. Another thing to consider is probably just the investment aspect, not only on appreciation, but on rent. If you look at these numbers, it seems like the appreciation in Merritt is going to be greater in the following year based on this, and it has been. If we see the same kind of growth that we just saw, it might be worth it to invest in Merritt if you're looking to buy an apartment or something like that, as opposed to Kamloops. Your initial costs are substantially less, and your return on income is probably similar if you look at what your rental rates are in Merritt. It's just something to think about. Rental properties are a big thing that I try and tell my clients to consider. So one of the biggest drawbacks for people who want to buy investment properties in Kamloops is that, our prices have gone up. Your average house is over 500 grand, and a suited house that's in decent condition is hard to find under 550. So, if your average house is around 350 in Merritt, maybe a suited house is the way to go out there. Check what the market rates are looking like in terms of getting rent. If your return on your investment is similar and your initial investment is less, and if your numbers continue the way that they have right now, you're seeing more growth on your equity as well. So it's just kind of interesting to see. It might float some people's boat to even live out there and be 40 minutes away. If you're from the Fraser Valley or from Vancouver and you're looking at, well, what's a 45-minute drive to me? It's nothing to you guys. I grew up here, so even in Kamloops when we have rush hour, that extra 10 minutes is pretty frustrating sometimes, but it's not to other people who have lived in bigger cities. It's not a big deal. And as Kamloops grows and expands, those times are going to become normalized. So it's just trying to look at things in a different way and give you some information that you might not have looked at before, just to try and give you value in other homes and other areas that we wouldn't consider. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for keeping an eye out and seeing what the market's doing. And I hope you guys were able to see read my chicken scratch writing there. But just a fun way to kind of share the stats. All right. Thanks, guys. I'll see you with another video soon.